Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishbad Paramahansa Bhajagacharya Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BPT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Bhajagacharya Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiv Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jai Mudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktim Bhavati Naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord who is glorified in transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Open the door a little bit. Not too much. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 On this 23rd day of August, 2017 in SanDiego. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Canto 3, the status quo, chapter 25, the glories of devotional service, text number 24. Taete sadhavak sadvi sarvasanga vivarjitaha sangaste shvatate pratyah sangadosha harahite taete sadhavak sadvi sarvasanga vivarjitaha sangaste shvatate pratyah sangadosha harahite taete sadhavak sadvi sarvasanga vivarjitaha sangaste shvatate pratyah sangadosha harahite. Right? Taete sadhavak sadvi sarvasanga vivarjitaha sangaste shvatate pratyah sangadosha harahite. Taete sadhavak sadvi sarvasanga vivarjitaha. Yeah. Sangaste shvatate pratyah sangadosha harahite. You want to try it? Taete sadhavak sadvi sarvasanga vivarjitaha sangaste shvatate pratyah sangadosha harahite. Taete sadhavak sadvi sarvasanga vivarjitaha sangaste shvatate pratyah sangadosha harahite. So something on pronunciation before we proceed. Yesterday we had a chance to hear a class from actually a Sanskrit scholar that devotee, he studies Sanskrit formally. And from him I learned one thing about pronunciation. When we have this H with a dot under it at the end of the second or fourth line, then we know we pronounce it, right? I was always doing vivarjitaha, but actually, the way I heard vivarjitaha, you echo the long A, not a short A. If the third line had been the fourth line, then we'd had pratyataha, but then it's a short A, you see, then it becomes. So anyway, that's how I'm going to do it from now on, until someone stops me. Te, those very. Sadhavaha, devotees. Sadvi, virtuous lady. Sarva, all. Sangha, attachments. Vivarjitaha, freed from. Sangaha, attachment. Teshu, unto them. Ata, hence. Te, by you. Pratyaha, must be sought. Sangadosha, the pernicious effects of material attachment. Haraha, counteractors of. He, indeed. Te, they. Translation. Lord Kapila said to his mother, "O my mother, O virtuous lady, these are the qualities of great devotees who are free from all attachment. You must seek attachment to such holy men, for this counteracts the pernicious effects of material attachment." Purport. Kapila Muni herein advises his mother, Devahuti, that if she wants to be free from material attachment, she should increase her attachment for the sadhus, or devotees, who are completely freed from all material attachment. In the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, verse 5, it is stated who is qualified to enter into the kingdom of Godhead. So this should be a very interesting verse for us, since we want to become qualified, right? It is said there, Nirmana moha jitasanga doshaha. This refers to one who is completely freed from the puffed up condition of material possessiveness. A person may be materially very rich, opulent, or respectable, but if he at all wants to transfer himself to the spiritual kingdom, back home, back to Godhead, then he has to be freed from the puffed up condition of material possessiveness, because that is a false position. The word moha used here means the false understanding that one is rich or poor. In this material world, the conception that one is very rich or very poor, or any such consciousness in connection with material existence, is false, because this body itself is false or temporary. A pure soul who is prepared to be freed from this material entanglement must first of all be free from the association of the three modes of nature. Our consciousness at the present moment is polluted because of association with the three modes of nature. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, the same principle is stated. It is advised, Jita Sangha Doshaha. One should be freed from the contaminated association of the three modes of material nature. Here also, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is confirmed. A pure devotee who is preparing to transfer himself to the spiritual kingdom is also freed from the association of the three modes of material nature. We have to seek the association of such devotees. For this reason, we have begun the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. There are many mercantile, scientific, and other associations in human society to develop a particular type of education or consciousness, but there is no association which helps one to get free from all material association. If anyone has reached the stage where he must become free from this material contamination, then he has to seek the association of devotees, wherein Krishna consciousness is exclusively cultured. One can thereby become freed from all material association. Because a devotee is freed from all contaminated material association, he is not affected by the miseries of material existence. This goes back to the previous verse. Even though he appears to be in the material world, he is not affected by the miseries of the material world. How is it possible? There is a very good example in the activities of the cat. The cat carries her kittens in her mouth, and when she kills a rat, she also carries the booty in her mouth. Thus both are carried in the mouth of the cat, but they are in different conditions. The kitten feels comfort in the mouth of the mother, whereas when the rat is carried in the mouth of the cat rat feels the blows of death. Similarly, those who are sadhavaha, or devotees, engaged in Krishna consciousness in the transcendental service of the Lord, do not feel the contamination of material miseries, whereas those who are not devotees in Krishna consciousness actually feel the miseries of material existence. One should therefore give up the association of materialistic persons and seek the association of persons engaged in Krishna consciousness, and by such association he will benefit in spiritual advancement. By their words and instructions, he will be able to cut off his attachment to material existence. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this is kind of a, it has the word therefore in it. These are the qualities you must therefore seek. Atta means therefore, or hence. Why therefore? Because, remember how this whole began, where Kapila Muni is telling his mother, Prasangam Madadam Pasham Atmana Kapayo Vidu, that we're in this material consciousness, we are tied tightly by our material association. Sometimes it's said we're tightly tied by the modes of nature. The modes of nature are known as tri guna. Tri means three, guna means qualities. But guna also means rope. So these different modes of nature, and we're going to discuss them in a minute, tightly bind the conditioned soul to this material existence, to suffer repeated birth, old age, disease, and death, and then also the threefold miseries. Now, since these last two verses talked about the miseries, this last verse and the present purport, we can quickly summarize them, just like Mukunda did yesterday. So this world is certified by Krishna as a place of suffering. He says in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Mamupetya punarjanma dukkhalayam ashashvatam. One who comes back to me does not have to come back to this world again and again, which is dukkhalayam. An alaya means an abode, a place where there's something. And in this case, dukkha means suffering. And it's ashashvatam. Any situation you have, any pleasant situation, that's also temporary. So that's a certain kind of misery. Because you're anticipating, oh, I've got so much money now, and my health is good, but when will it end, right? And that's why we have the insurance. Insurance companies, they play on fear. The whole thing is fear. Oh, you're going to die. Every so often, because they know I'm old now, so without fail, once a week or so in my mail, I get an advertisement for life insurance, right? Because what's the fear? Oh, I'm going to die and my dependents are, going to be without, so I'll get some life insurance. And there's health insurance, there's fire insurance, there's car insurance. What is the idea? Well, we know that this world is full of dangers and suffering, so to mitigate the suffering, we'll have insurance. That way I'll get some money and I can buy my way out of the difficulty. But what about that process or that system whereby you can actually transcend all misery permanently? That no one talks about because they don't know. That has to be a transcendental process, and that's what's being spoken of here. So the first thing is that Kapila Devi analyzes the situation, that due to our previous activities, we've come to this state. Think human beings for now. And Pasangam Madaram Pasham, we're bound tightly by all of these material desires under the different modes of nature, which we'll mention in a minute. So he's saying that those who are wise, Pasangam Madaram Pasham, Atmana Kapayovadu, that the soul is bound by these ropes of prasanga, strong attachment, due to strong association. The wise, they know that same attachment needs to be directed somehow toward the saints, the sadhus. And that opens the door to liberation. In other words, that and that alone is a prerequisite for getting out of the bondage of this material world. Without getting good association and learning and establishing relationship with sadhus, there's no exit. There was once a play. I think it was John Paul Sartre wrote the play, No Exit. And I remember one line from this play. He was a kind of a depressed guy, And one of the lines was, hell is other people. Can you imagine? Hell is other people. Yeah, if they're all materialists and they're all tormenting you. But for devotees, devotees are heaven. So, the first verse says you have to turn your attention and your attraction toward the sadhus. Who are they? First of all, okay, suppose I want to do that. I want to get liberated, I want to do that. I have to find the sadhus. So for the next 3 verses, he describes who the sadhus are. Now, if you recall, a few days ago we had this very important verse, Tatikshava karunika suridak sarvadehinam ajata shatravakshanta sadhavak sadhabhushana. This is a little summary of some of the qualities, essential qualities of a sadhu. So you can recognize. The first thing is tolerance. Practically, this is unknown today. Everybody wants to be a victim, because if you're a victim, you have you can get some sympathy and some recompense, right? That's exactly the opposite of tolerance. That means that any little thing that happens to you, says, "Oh, this is an opportunity to bring a lawsuit," So this whole, it's just the opposite. But a sadhu tolerates the threefold miseries, which are those which are caused by the body and mind, adhyatmic. Now these miseries, they're not mutually exclusive. For instance, is an infection, say tuberculosis, is that adhyatmic or adibautic? The tuberculosis germs have caused this disease. So that's adibautic. But when it comes down to it, it's your own body and mind that's giving you trouble, right? So there's adhyatmic mixed in. Ultimately, they all come down to adhyatmic, right? If something happens and there's an earthquake here and there's a big tsunami, right? So then I'm on the second floor, but we have to get up, run up to Kate Session Parks or something. So okay, but then at a certain point, you're afraid of the tsunami. That's your mind giving you a problem, isn't it? So there you go with adhyatmic. So anyway, the original source may be natural disturbances, adidaiva coming from the devas, or other living entities or the human beings. That's a big source of misery. Or as Prabhupada says in one lecture, bed bugs. He must have experienced that at something. We had bed bug infestation here at one point, I think you remember. Mosquitoes, all kinds of things. Adibautic, adidaivic, adhyatmic, your own body and mind. You may be sitting in a very peaceful place in a forest, perfect temperature, you have plenty of water to drink. But you're miserable because you got all this anxiety and worry and memory that someone hates me, they just left me with it. It's all mental, it's all in your mind. It can cause extreme suffering. So, being in the material world, conditioned means to suffer one or more of these at all times. Or even just not suffering them, but having the fear of suffering them, that's another kind of misery. You see the problem? So he says, if you want to get rid of all these, you have to find someone who is tatikshava, who is tolerant of all of them, who is able to tolerate and still remain equipoised. Tatikshava and karunika, who cares, whose heart is soft and who empathizes with others' suffering and is always trying to relieve it. That's karunika. And they go together, because if you try to help people, first of all, that's a big problem. Think of, there's this organization called Doctors Without Borders. It's French. You may have heard of it. They go to war zones in order to help people who have no other, medical facility. They're very brave. They're compassionate. So they have that quality, and you have to tolerate. You have to tolerate so many things when you're trying to help people. So the Tikshivakar, Suridak Sarvadehinam, the friend, they really feel themselves to be the friend of every living entity. And therefore they have no enmity. Ajatra Shattavak means some regard them as enemies, just like the perfect example is Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad. You'll find in our Shastra the story of this huge demon. He conquered the whole universe. And he had a child who was a devotee. He became a devotee when Narada Muni, a great sage, preached to him in the womb. He was in the womb. So when he came out, the father didn't know. So he thought he was just raising him as a demon. But every time he asked him, what did you learn in school today? He preached to him about Krishna consciousness. So eventually, this big demon father tried to kill his son Prahlad. You believe that? 5 years old. But Prahlad, he was so fixed in his meditation, absorption of his mind, this is the key, in Krishna, that even though his father tried to boil him in oil, crush him under elephants, chop him to bits, throw him off a cliff, and other means, he remained equipoised, completely in samadhi, and he was protected by Krishna. Not only was he protected from injury and death, but even from feeling any pain. This is the power of Krishna consciousness. So sadhus have that, and therefore they say, ajata shatrava, they feel no enmity toward anyone, they're perfectly tolerant. And shanta, they're peaceful. The peacefulness comes from not wanting anything. And that brings us back to the present purport. Prabhupada talks about this phrase, what do they call about? The puffed up condition of material attachment. So, so by cultivating these qualities, are searching for someone with those qualities, right? Tolerant, merciful, friendly, and how do you get those qualities? That's the next verse. Mayananyena bhavana bhaktim kurvanti yedidam. Very determined devotional service to me. Kapila Deva is actually Krishna. He's an incarnation of Krishna. So he says, me, unto me. Ananyena bhavena, without deviation and flinching and everything. Then what's the result? Such souls will give up any activity that's not in the program of Krishna. Matkute chakta karmanas. This is part of what it means to surrender. give up those things which are unfavorable for Krishna consciousness, and accept those things which are favorable. Now, the things you have to give up, you maybe like to do them. That's just austerity. And the things you have to accept, you don't want to do them. Getting up early, cold shower, all these different things. But that's what it means if you want to advance. That's discipline. So he said, check the karma, and even swajana bandhava, even if your relatives and friends are impediments, then you also have to give up that relationship. That may be painful too, but this is the price you have to pay. So he's giving a little definition there. So what do? Now this is what they don't do. They don't do it, Marashaya Katam Rishna, such surrendered souls, they're always hearing and chanting delightful vibrations about me. In this way, this is part and parcel of the Krishna consciousness, is hearing and chanting the holy name. We have this beautiful mantra. This is how do we associate when we get together? Oh, let's have a kirtan. This is what devotees do, right? It's essential. That's hearing and chanting. It's exactly what this verse is, the previous 2 verses back. Marashriya katam rishta, or katam rishta, as Mukunda reveals, another reading. Shrinvanti katayanti, hear and chant. And by that hearing and chanting and being absorbed in Krishna, tapantiva vidastapa naitan madgata cetasa, their minds are gone to me. Madgata cetasa means absorbed in me. And therefore they don't feel the miseries. They're transcendental. Now, the present verse says, these are the ones you have to search out. It's all about searching out the sadhus. And then he gives further definition. Sarva Sangha Vivarjitaha. Remember that Sangha means 2 things. It means attachment and association. And they go together. What you associate with, you become attached to. Right? Krishna says, 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Sangat Sanjayate Kama. By your association, by your attachment, you develop strong desires. And everyone knows. So with our intelligence, we should decide who and what to associate with to develop attachment to Krishna, ultimately, and Krishna's devotees, and everything related to Krishna. So these devotees, now he's talking about material attachment, they are free, completely freed from material attachments. This Sangha, with them, you have to search out, or prartya means to seek out. And he addresses her as a sadhvi. Now here it's mentioned virtuous lady. Now it's not too difficult to see the play on words here. His mother is approaching him in the role of a conditioned soul. She says, oh, my senses are causing me so much trouble, right? And you're the only one who can help me. This is how she addresses her son a few verses back. You are the axe to cut down my tree of the material life. But actually she is a sadhvi herself. She herself is a female sadhu. Sadhu, the female form of sadhu is sadhvi, you see? So in other words, she's already a sadhu, he's revealing. But she's in the role of a conditioned soul, so he's preaching to us. He's telling us, we need to search out those sadhus who are all free of material attachment. And by their association, you'll get Sangha Dosha Hara. You'll become free from the faults of previous bad association, which we're all suffering from now. Because this association, these attachments, we carry them forward, not only in this one life, but from life to life. So it's a cleansing process also, getting freed from the results, of bad association. Now, Prabhupada refers to this verse in the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, it begins with the description of the entanglement. It's the same philosophy. But there he uses this very nice analogy of a banyan tree. Have you ever seen a banyan tree? These banyan trees can grow huge. There's one in Balboa Park. That's not really big one. I mean, they can become as big as an acre. Because they have these branches that go horizontally, and those branches put down further roots. And then it goes further and further out. So it can be extremely entangling. Almost like a forest in and of itself. So he says, now this material world is like this huge banyan tree, upside down. Now, and then it's explained, Prabhupada explains in the purport. Meaning that if you go to a very calm lake, say, and on the other side of that lake there's a tree growing on near the shore, and you see the reflection of that tree, everything's upside down. The root is highest and the leaves are down lowest, right? And the branches are down. So this tree is upside down, which means everything is reversed. It's very illustrative. It's like we know the highest. We worship every day, Radha Krishna, right? They're not married. This caused a furor back in the day. I won't go into the whole history of it. But before it was explained and understood. But, so it's an illicit affair, on the surface, right? But it's the highest. We worship as the highest relationship. Radha and Krishna, the divine pair, the divine lovers. But in this world, illicit sex and illicit relationship with women and men is the lowest thing. It's very, very harmful. You can see, everyone knows. You got diseases, you got abortions, you got unwanted kids, you got breakup, you got all kinds of emotional things. Murders happen on that. Yeah, you can see by the results. So there's a marriage institution to try to give it, there's always a religious thing involved to somehow keep it under control. But, so what's highest there is lowest here. But everything here is a reflection there. You'll find friendship here, there's perfect friendship there. Krishna and his coward friends, You'll find people eating here, but oftentimes they eat abominable foodstuffs that cause contamination and disease. Karmic disease and physical disease and everything. There they're eating prasadam, Krishna, wonderful preparations that just, make you more ecstatic, healthy. So, this, in this 15th chapter, it's described how to get out of this tree. You can't just go from one branch to another. One variety of Vedic sacrifice or sense gratification. It doesn't work. We've been doing that for millions of births. You have to cut down the tree at its root. And who remembers it? Does anyone remember from that? What is it? No, it's not knowledge. Detachment. Asanga, here's that word sanga again. Asanga shastrena dudhena chitva. This is the line in the verse. Asanga means detachment in this context. Shastra means a weapon, actually a sword. Chitva, you have to cut it off. But that's not all. You can't just become detached. You have to become attached to something. Then you have to search out the Lord from whom everything has come. And then the next verse describes this process of surrender, because it says surrender. Nirmana moha jitasanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinavritta kama dvandvava mukta sukadukha sanga gachanti mudha padamam vyayang tat. Now notice the word amudha is there. The non-fool. In other words, the wise man. That's mentioned in the first verse of the Sadhu Sangashtaka, text 20, as the kavi has to search out. So here's the formula. Nirmana moha. Now, Prabhu, I won't say riffs, he gives a little purport on this word, nirmana moha. So, mana is pride. And nir is just the opposite. Free of the delusion of pride. And the source of pride, false pride, is often material possessions. We can see these millionaires and 10 millionaires and multi-billionaires, how proud they are. Right? Oh, I have billions. I can control so many things. I can buy this senator, that senator, right? The more money you have for sense gratification, the more proud you are. Why? Because you're imitating Krishna. Krishna owns everything. The word Aishvarya means wealth, and it's derived from the word Ishvara, controller. Everyone knows if someone has a lot of money, you can buy so many things, hire so many people, right? Weapons, you can buy weapons, right? So money is power. Money is a kind of energy of Krishna, Shakti. But it's Krishna's energy. He's created everything. He's created your intelligence by which you got the money. He created everything. It's His. And as long as we try to misappropriate some of it, we are going to be beset by this false pride of possession. The land, Prabhupada gives the land. Before we came here, these white Westerners, it was occupied by the Native Americans. It wasn't their land, but it certainly wasn't the settlers' land. But we killed them, genocide. This whole country is built on genocide and slavery. That's how glorious it is. So it's true. So it's all so much pride, this is a manifest destiny. You never say, we're manifest to go from shore to shore all the way to California and take over all this land. That's false pride. That's manamoha, the puffed up condition of material possessiveness. That's the thing. So that's why devotees, we try to live as simply as possible. Brahmacharya life, everything belongs to Krishna, and it's so peaceful. If you really do it right, because first of all you have so much extra time. Rather than worrying about getting this, that to practice Krishna consciousness, you can put your full. It's really a great advantageous position. So one who is completely freed from the puffed up condition of material, nirmana moha and jita sangha dosha, which goes back to the verse, having conquered the evils of previous bad association. It's a question of purification. What do we sing? You know the verse. Cheto darpana marjanam. That's it. Cheto darpana marjanam. The congregational chanting of the holy name, which is association with Krishna through his holy name. Again, we're back to Sangha. The greatest Sangha is that association. Now, you get that association of the holy name through the sadhus. How did we even know about Krishna? The supreme sadhu, Srila Prabhupada, came and taught us. He personified these qualities. Tatikshava karunika suridaksavat. And it was all because of his one-pointed, undeviating, firm, determined devotion to Krishna. Mayananyanya bhavana kuru. And he was able to give us the holy name, because of the pure chanting. It enters into the heart, and then you repeat it, and then the purification takes place. That's a very powerful part of Jita Sangha dosha. Conquering over previous attachments due to previous bad association. So, let's see. So Prabhupada talks about how, all of this idea, you're rich or poor, or old or young, and black or white, it's all pertaining to the body, and we're not the body. It's a whole complete false conception. The Krishna consciousness is as radical as it can possibly be. I remember when I was a kid, when I was 18 to 20, I thought of myself as a radical. In those days, radical meant that you had some socialist, tendencies. I was raised as a communist, actually. It was actually true. My father used to read Das Kapital to me in his English translation when I was growing up. Anyway, it's the whole story. He was afraid of the FBI. He'd keep it up in a closet, and then in the evening time, really. Because he had, anyway. And so he'd read to me. I was indoctrinated. But the idea I got from that is that we have to get to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem, what I thought was the who owns the means of production of the capitalist system. But that's really false. The real root of the problem is manamoha, is the delusion caused by false pride, caused by trying to dominate or lord it over material nature. And that disease is cured by Krishna consciousness. That dosha, that fault, is conquered over by good association. So, now Prabhupada talks about the modes of nature, and I want to mention that. We learn in the Bhagavad Gita how this conditioning takes place. So he describes in the 14th chapter, there's a whole chapter called the modes of nature. So what does that mean? Well, he describes what the effects of different modes are, and we can see what mode we're in. Mode of goodness, characterized by peacefulness, by a lack of very powerful desire to enjoy the senses, philosophical bent of mind, desire for purity, knowledge, and that type of thing. The mode of passion, which is very common, let me make as much money as I can to enjoy. I'll work 18 hours a day for a few years, build up a certain amount of money, I'll invest it, and then I'll do it. And while you're doing that, partying, doing as much, enjoying as much as you can. That's mode of passion. Mode of ignorance, tomorrow. That's the key. You can put it on I'll do it tomorrow. Postponing, lying down, too much sleep, intoxication, and madness. Also comes from this delusion. This is all a dirtiness, not cleaning. This is the characteristics of the mode of ignorance. And everything is colored by that. There's happiness in the mode of passion, goodness and ignorance. There's food in the mode of passion, and music, everything. You know, and when you engage with others in that mode, you stay in that mode, and you do things that keep you in that mode. But the modes are changing. At a certain point, you say, I got to get out of this. This is crazy. You know, I'm ruining my life. You know, in the mode of ignorance. So let me, I articulate it this way. We think, let me get up to the mode of passion. Let me work a little bit. You know, get myself together and clean up this mess. You know, that's suddenly the mode of passion is dominating a little more. And then in the mode of passion, what am I working so hard for? Let me check out, you know, this philosophy. It doesn't have to be Krishna conscious philosophy. What's the meaning of all this? You know, and you try to go out in the country, a little peace, away from the madding crowd. Mode of goodness takes over a little bit. But there's no purity. You also have mode of ignorance tendencies, and passion is constantly changing. Krishna describes this. So, Krishna conscious means to transcend the modes and stay above the modes. And Krishna describes in the end of the chapter 14 how to do it. Mam chiyova bicharena bhakti yogina sevate soganan samatitatan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Unflinching devotion unto me, avyabhichari bhakti. Sagunan samatitatan, so that person transcends these modes and comes to the platform of Brahman, Brahmabhuta platform. See? So that all comes. How are we going to practice undeviating devotion? By sangha, by association with the devotees. And so the whole thing is very logical. Now Prabhupada says he started this society in order to facilitate this association. This is why the temples are so important, because people come here all the time. We have these festivals, and we have another one coming up at the end of the month. Beautiful festival. I hope you can be here at that time. Radhashtami. It's real sweet. Radharani's birthday, appearance day. And well, as soon as he comes up, and the schedule is filled with them, right? There's always another festival that's coming up. Oh, let's go to the temple. Let's chant Hare Krishna. Let's see the deities, take prasadam, hear something, So these are focal points where people can come together. And that's why, Prabhupada is so keen to start these centers everywhere. So that to provide sadhu sangha for us and for outsiders. And to counteract the evils of the age, personally and socially. Now then this nice analogy, and I'll end here. The cat, right? So it all depends on who you are as to how you relate to some power. So here the example, the cat loves the kittens, the mother cat, right? So he moves the kittens from one place to another. So the kitten is, oh, mommy, it's just taking me. There's no fear. It's actually, you feel blissful. But when she's able to capture a rat, the rat says, oh my God, I'm a goner. So, you can imagine what it's like, the blows of death. So now, we're all in the material world. But if devotees, if we see with proper vision, we see it's all Krishna's energy. Everywhere we look is Krishna. What's the fear? But in materialists, there's so much to fear. You don't really realize it, but how valuable it is. Now, today in the modern world, there's so much anxiety, more than there was like a year ago, because of the uncertainty of the social position. Some crazy guy has his finger on the button. It'll affect everybody, Well, what about the next crash? An economic crash, right? That's another anxiety. So much people can't be peaceful. They take shelter of drugs, of TV, of whatever, to try to forget. It's all a drug. To try to forget of the condition. So, with Krishna conscious devotees, you don't look like you're in that much anxiety about coming nuclear war. Economic crash, hey, when you got nothing to lose. You know what I'm saying? So that lack of anxiety is a huge boon of Krishna consciousness. We take it for granted. Don't take it for granted. But it's a tremendously attractive thing. That's why people keep coming here. People come, because there's a different mood. It's not a place where someone's trying to lie to you and take advantage of you and pick your pocket. Okay, it is a little late, so we're going to stop now. What were you going to ask?
I was reading in the Bhagavad Gita, I believe, and they mentioned to take something for granted, but it said it in a different way than we've learned. Like how you say, don't take for granted.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you mean. But when I was reading in the Bhagavad Gita, it said to take